is it not possible, in your view, for somebody who was a man to become, as they would describe it, a woman?
No, you can't change sex. It's not biologically possible.
No, but I didn't ask you about sex. I asked you about whether they can become a woman.
Womanhood, I would say, is entirely sensibly predicated on sex. There's no other good way of doing it.
And there are lots of people who say that's an extreme view.
If you let me explain my reasoning.
But there are lots of people who say that's an extreme view.
Well, of course they do, but if you will let me explain my reasoning, biology is the thing that affects our bodily performance in sport, that affects our chances of being sexually assaulted, that affects medical treatment. I'm conceding all of that. I'm conceding all of that. Well, then, so what's the word for that? Adult, human, female, woman, I'm afraid.
So if a trans person who transitions and legally becomes a woman wants to be described as a woman...
I'll describe them as a woman for certain limited purposes, but there's got to be limits because, obviously, for all the domains we've just talked about, it matters.
So the thing I feel is that there's two extremes having this big fight. And actually, most people in the centre ground think, well, of course that person's not sexually a woman, but actually they can become legally a woman, and they are a woman.
They can.
And why do you want to tell vulnerable young 21-year-olds that they can't be a woman because you decided they're not allowed to be one?
Well, I didn't decide it. I mean, we're animals. We're based in nature. The world decided it, the way evolution decided it. I mean, it's crazy to think that just because I'm making some category distinctions that have been around for centuries and in every natural language exists, that I'm deciding who gets to be a woman. I'm not. I'm describing the world I see. And we have evolved to make differentiations between males and females in the human species, and they're very useful distinctions. The whole future of sexual reproduction depends on us recognising males and women.
But you're saying to somebody who transitions that they're not a woman?
I don't go up to them and say that.
But you are saying that?
I'm happy to... Yes, if in general I am, because...
Do you understand that is the thing which makes people feel as though the debate's polarised?
I understand that, but I also understand
say
people like you
anybody
really
can be a woman, and other people say they can't be a woman, and actually most people in the middle think, well, actually...
Well, how do you know what most people in the middle think, Ed? Have you polled them?
Well, I mean, I think that I do know what most people think.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
and you think I'm wrong?
Well, I think if you look at the polling on this, it depends how you phrase the question. If you ask, can a woman have a penis, most people say no.
Oh, yeah, but I agree with that.
Oh, OK. Right, so obviously you are more extreme than many.
No, I'm telling you it's complicated, and that in your attempt to simplify it, you end up...
I certainly think it's complicated. I wrote a whole book about it to try to go through every single argument, and I assure you that... And I'm also prepared to go along with preferred pronouns. I'm preferred to immerse myself in a fiction that someone has changed sex, but I don't think they actually have. And I think we need words to describe the differences between males and females because they matter socially across all sorts of domains.
Somebody who transitions and wants to be a woman, I think it's fine to call them a woman. I don't know why you don't want to allow them to make that choice.
I know, well, that's why we're arguing about this, isn't it? We have a difference of opinion.
But do you feel to a certain extent we are in a different world now? I know you talk about, this has evolved over however many years and this dates back to whenever, but we're in a different world now, aren't we, where actually situations are different. And you know that the views that you put out do cause a significant amount of upset. There are a number of, Ed talked about the 100 Oxford-based staff members who've signed this response letter. We know that, back in 2021, more than 600 philosophers from around the world were critical about what you had to say as well. Does that not make you think, do you know what, perhaps I need to modify the way, the language I'm using?
I mean,
when you know it's causing upset.
Well, what are we going to stop talking about things because they cause upset?
No, not necessarily stop talking about it.
It's a free society. We have to talk about the things that cause upset because they're precisely the points at which pressure groups and activists will try and steer the conversation in a particular direction. So we have to have freedom of speech. We have to be able to talk about this. Now, of course, I am causing upset, but I'm telling you that the position I'm fighting against causes a lot of upset. You've got male rapists in female prisons. That causes a lot of upset. You've got children transitioning, doing things to their bodies that they can't take back. That causes upset, and their parents are very upset about it. You've got huge numbers of women unable to talk about sex-based rights in their workplaces because they feel stifled. That causes upset. So there are two different sets of interests here. And we need to have a conversation without one side, my side in particular, being constantly told that I'm somehow evil and bigoted for even raising these questions, which are extremely socially important.